The engine sputtered like a dying heartbeat, coughing black smoke into the twilight air. On a dusty stretch of Route 66, somewhere between nowhere and nowhere else, a cherry-red 1967 Ford Mustang sat stranded, its driver, a woman in a faded denim jacket, kicking at the gravel in frustration. Headlights flickered in the distance, a beat-up pickup truck rattling closer. She tensed, hands slipping to the pepper spray in her pocket. Out here, you never knew who might stop. The truck slowed, and out stepped a man, his flannel shirt patched at the elbows, his face etched with the kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying the world. "Car trouble," he called, his voice warm but cautious. In the passenger seat, a little girl with pigtails peeked out, clutching a worn stuffed dinosaur. "Yeah," the woman said, sizing him up. "Alternator, I think. You know cars." He nodded, wiping his hands on a rag. "Name's Caleb. That's my daughter, Ellie. I tinker a bit. Mind if I take a look?" Caleb Monroe was no stranger to struggle. At 34, he was a single dad in a small Arizona town, working double shifts at the diner and fixing cars on the side to keep the lights on. Ellie, his 6-year-old, was his sun and stars, but every month was a tightrope walk, bills piling up, her asthma meds eating what little he saved. He'd learned to stretch $1 and a prayer further than most. Tonight, he was bone-tired, driving home from a job that barely paid for the gas. But when he saw the stranded Mustang, something in him couldn't just pass by. The woman, who introduced herself as Lena, watched as Caleb popped the hood. Her sharp eyes softened when Ellie hopped out, offering her dinosaur to keep her company. Caleb worked quietly, his hands steady despite the ache in his shoulders. He didn't have the tools for a full fix, but he jury-rigged the alternator enough to get her to the next town. "Should hold for a bit," he said, wiping grease off his hands. "There's a shop in Holbrook. Ask for Jimmy, he's honest." Lena studied him, her expression unreadable. "You didn't have to stop." "Most wouldn't." Caleb shrugged. "World's hard enough without leaving folks stuck." She reached for her wallet, but he waved her off. "Just get it fixed proper. Safe travels." He climbed back into his truck, Ellie waving as they drove off into the dusk. Lena wasn't what she seemed. To the world, she was Elena Voss, founder of Voss Tech, a billion-dollar tech empire revolutionizing renewable energy. But out here, she was just Lena, driving her late father's Mustang across the country to clear her head. She'd built her fortune from nothing, a kid from a trailer park who clawed her way up through sheer grit. Yet lately, the boardrooms and penthouses felt hollow. She'd come to the desert seeking something real, something her father used to call the good stuff. The kind of humanity money couldn't buy. Caleb's kindness hit her like a thunderbolt. He hadn't asked for anything, hadn't even lingered for thanks. She thought of his truck's bald tires, the worry lines creasing his face, the way Ellie's shoes looked a size too small. Before driving off, she'd slipped a business card into his toolbox when he wasn't looking, scribbling a note. "Call me if you ever need anything." Weeks passed. Caleb's life stayed a grind. The diner cut his hours, and Ellie's inhaler ran low. He found the card one night, buried under wrenches, and stared at it. Lena Voss, Voss Tech. A quick search on the library computer left him slack-jawed. Lena was that Elena Voss, a billionaire who graced magazine covers. His first instinct was to toss the card. He wasn't a charity case. But then Ellie coughed in her sleep, and pride took a back seat. He dialed the number, expecting a secretary. Lena answered on the second ring. "Caleb? Took you long enough." I don't know why I'm calling," he admitted. "Things are tight, and Ellie's meds." "Say no more," Lena cut in. "I owe you." "You don't owe me anything," he said, voice firm. "I helped because it was right." There was a pause, then Lena's voice softened. "That's why I want to help you." Lena didn't just send money. She showed up in Caleb's town, her Mustang gleaming in the diner parking lot. Over coffee, she listened as he talked about Ellie, his dreams of giving her a better life. Lena saw her younger self in him, the relentless fight, the love that kept him going. She offered him a job at Vostech's new Arizona plant, not as a handout, but as a chance to earn his way. "You're good with your hands," she said. "We need people who fix things, not just break them." Caleb hesitated, but Ellie's giggle as she played with Lena's car keys sealed it. He took the job, and it changed everything: steady pay, health insurance, a future. But the real shift came the day Lena invited them to her company's community outreach event. Caleb, now a supervisor, stood beside her as Vostek unveiled a fund for single parents, inspired by his story. Hundreds of families would get a lifeline because one man stopped on a lonely road. The emotional climax came at the event's close. Lena pulled Caleb aside, her eyes glistening. "You didn't just fix my car that night," she said. "You reminded me why I started this company, to make the world a little less hard. You gave me back the good stuff." Caleb, usually stoic, felt his throat tighten. "I was just doing what anyone would." "No," Lena said. "You did what you would. And that's everything." Ellie ran up, hugging them both, her dinosaur tucked under her arm. The crowd cheered as the fund was announced, but for Caleb, the moment was quieter, a realization that one small act could ripple outward, touching lives he'd never know. Years later, Caleb and Ellie stood at the edge of Route 66, now a route dotted with Vostek's community centers. Ellie, thriving and spirited, pointed to a new sign, the Caleb Monroe Fund for Hope. Caleb smiled, thinking of that night, that Mustang, that stranger who became a friend. He'd learned that kindness wasn't just a moment. It was a movement, a spark that could light up the world. And somewhere, Lena was driving her father's Mustang, chasing the good stuff, knowing she'd found it in a man who stopped when no one else would.